Revealed, Black girl's amazing connection to billionaire hidden birthmark truth transforms lives. Mia Johnson knew the weight of a secret it etched onto her skin in the form of a birthmark, a jagged patch of darkness that set her apart from the crowd in her small Texas town. Everyone recognized her, yet no one understood the layers behind her quiet demeanor. Her dreams of attending a prestigious university felt like an impossible escape from the grasp of poverty that suffocated her aspirations. She juggled schoolwork while scrubbing floors at the local diner, every bit determined to rise above. But there was a yearning deep within her, the kind that kept her awake at night, wrestling with ambitions just out of reach. As she helped at the local health fair that Saturday, her heart raced, but not from excitement. The hum of earnest conversations, the laughter of children, and the thrum of community suffocated her thoughts. It was in this anxious atmosphere that she met Oliver Grant, the billionaire whose crisp suit and sharp gaze were worlds away from her everyday life. Their conversation ignited something within her. His fascination with genetic research and his thirst for knowledge danced in the air, but it felt surreal. Did he really care? Or was she just another face in the crowd? Just as she began to lose herself in the dialogue, Oliver casually remarked about the birthmark on her wrist. Mia's breath quickened. This wasn't just a random mark, it was her hidden story, a point of shame and uncertainty. What did he know? What secrets lay woven into its texture? A knot formed in her stomach as they delved deeper into discussions about ambition and disparity, testing her will to remain tethered to her mother's sacrifices. Could she pursue her dreams, or was she bound to the shadow of loyalty that constantly loomed over her? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Mia's heart raced further as suspicion brewed in her mind. Why had his interest peaked so dramatically? What if he pursued the truth behind her birthmark? Would her mother's struggles be deemed irrelevant by ambitions beyond their world? Her fists tightened, her inner turmoil spilling into sharper thoughts. She wanted answers yet feared the ramifications of unearthing family secrets. As curiosity morphed into desperation, Mia sank into a world fraught with hidden legacies. Each piece of research pulled at her soul, revealing more than she could fathom. The idea that her birthmark might connect her to Oliver's lineage screamed at her, conflicting with her family's identity. Did ambition come with a price, like severing the ties that bound her to her mother's endless sacrifice? There she stood, poised between two worlds, the girl from the diner or the girl who could shape reality through education. The whispers of impending change surrounded her, and uncertainty gnawed at her, accelerating her thoughts into a wild storm. At that moment, as every door seemed to simultaneously open and close, she felt the weight of her decision bearing down on her spirit. Would she embrace the unknown, or let loyalty choke her dreams? The tension built, and all Mia knew was that whatever lay ahead would reshape her, as well as everything and everyone she loved. Mia stood at a crossroads, the weight of her birthmark pulling her toward an invisible tether to her past. She could feel the rumble of doubt beneath her surface, an inner dialogue that thrummed in tandem with her heartbeat. The flickering lights of the diner she called work and home beckoned her return, yet the encounter with Oliver Grant filled her with a sweet, potent lure that promised more than the mundane life she lived. She spent the night grappling with her thoughts, staring into the darkness of her room as the world outside drifted into oblivion. Her mother's soft snores filled the air, a reminder of the sacrifices that swirled around their modest existence. Mia had been taught to honor those sacrifices, but a new voice within her whispered of freedom, of transcendence. Her fingers traced the outline of her birthmark, as if searching for the truth it concealed. Recognition of her unique identity brought forth unease, transforming her longing into a litany of questions. What if this birthmark truly marked her as special? As a link to something greater? A recess of wonder mingled with fear. The implications of her connection to Oliver could unravel the very fabric of her world. She had felt used before, her poverty had made her a target in the past, but what if this was different? What if he only wanted to capitalize on her legacy, without care for her? Driven by a combination of desperation and hope, she began to research. Late-night internet searches turned to early morning coffee-fueled revelations. Browsing through genetic articles and life histories, the sensation of her identity began morphing. The birthmark transformed from a blemish into a symbol of potential. She couldn't suppress the exhilaration that surged through her each time she uncovered snippets of her family lineage, piecing together clues that led to a legacy she barely recognized. Yet, with every discovery, tension brewed. The wall between who she was and who she could be loomed larger, intensifying the internal conflict that had started to rise like a tempest within her. The thought of discussing her findings with Oliver sparked excitement, but it was shadowed by the consequences of exposing her family's secrets. Would he respect her struggle, or exploit it? Determined to confront this lie of silence, Mia decided to take control, her first step into the unknown. She would seek out Oliver, demand to know exactly what he knew about her lineage, and why it mattered. This wasn't just about her birthmark, it was about acknowledging her history and choosing how to embrace it going forward. As she prepared herself for what loomed ahead, an unexpected confidence began to fill the gaps of her self-doubt, threading through her doubts like a lifeline. Every swipe of her fingers over the keyboard felt like a stroke of paint on the canvas of her future. She was no longer merely a girl from the diner, she was a woman ready to write her own narrative. But when she stood at the door, finally poised to step into a meeting with Oliver, an unexpected thought struck her. What if he turned out to be as insidious as her fears suggested? The moment weighed heavily on her heart. The time had come to face not just Oliver, but the truth of her own existence. Little did she know, the revelations he was about to share could change everything she thought she understood about herself. Mia inhaled deeply and opened the door. Would she find clarity, or confirmation of her worst fears? Mia stepped into the bustling cafe, the scent of freshly brewed coffee colliding with the crisp air. The chatter seemed a world away, as if she were submerged beneath the weight of her thoughts, barely registering the smiles and laughter around her. Her heart pounded against her chest like a drum, each thrum reminding her of the gravity of her decision. Oliver sat in a corner, his eyes fixed on a notebook, oblivious to the haze of uncertainty enveloping her. She approached with measured steps, each one a testament to her resolution. The gravity of their past encounter played a monotonous loop in her mind. What did he know? More importantly, what did she want him to know? As she neared, his gaze lifted, and a smile formed, disarming yet enigmatic, kindling a flurry of anticipation within her. Mia. I'm glad you could make it, he said, motioning for her to sit. The words were warm, but the tightening of her stomach hinted at the fears she couldn't quite shake. Thanks for inviting me, she replied, fighting the urge to flee back to the safety of familiarity. I've been thinking about our last conversation. His brow furrowed subtly. I could tell it meant something to you. The moment was at once exhilarating and terrifying, a nerve-wracking dance between curiosity and caution. She inhaled, weaving breath into resolve. I want to know more about my family, about this. She gestured towards her birthmark, that intricate patch of skin that had once been just a mark of her difference. You mentioned it was unique. He leaned forward, intrigue flickering in his eyes. It is, indeed, not just for the physical aspect, but what it represents. Your family has a history intertwined with some powerful connections. Powerful connections. The phrase sent ripples through her mind. Did he understand the weight of what he was implying? What exactly do you mean? Oliver hesitated, collecting his thoughts. Your birthmark can be traced back to. He paused, gauging her reaction as if he were holding on to the threads of a tapestry before revealing its full design. To an ancestry that goes beyond the ordinary. You are part of a lineage that has contributed to changes in society, historically notable figures, visionaries. His words wrapped around her like a cloak, igniting emotions she hadn't anticipated. She felt a surge of pride and disbelief. But why are you interested in my family? What is your connection? I want to help you understand your potential, he said, sincerity emanating from his voice. I see something in you that others miss, a strength, a spark. It's rare. The flattery was intoxicating, drawing her away from her self-doubt. But what if it's all just a fantasy? She questioned, urgency creeping back. What if this is just a game for you? His expression shifted, shadows crossing his face, and she sensed her words had struck a chord. I get it, Mia. Your past has made trusting hard. But consider this, embracing who you are, that unique aspect of you, this isn't just a mark, it's a key to untapped potential. You must choose whether to unlock that door. A tempest brewed within her, anxiety swirling with the thrill of possibility. What he presented was not merely alluring, it resonated deep beneath her skin, where doubt intertwined with yearning. Yet, a voice echoed within her, demanding caution. Suddenly, a notion struck her: what if she indeed had that potential? What if all this searching, all this research was leading to something she had yet to understand? What if there was more to this than mere lineage? I need to do more than just listen, she finally said, fierce determination inching into her voice. I need to know everything, Oliver. No more vague details. I want to understand who I am and what this means for my life moving forward. Oliver nodded, an unreadable expression passing over his face. He tapped the notebook he'd been scribbling in. Then let us dive deeper together. There are layers to uncover. As the conversation deepened, Mia felt a shift, a dawning realization that this journey could reshape not just her identity but the very fabric of her future. Yet, as enthusiasm bubbled up within her, a gnawing fear remained. What doors could this path truly open? Could she emerge stronger, or would unraveling the truth threaten to break her entirely? The tension lingered as she pondered what they would uncover together, and with that thought, she prepared for an adventure that could change everything. But was she ready to face whatever darkness might lie beneath? Mia sat across from Oliver, her heart racing as he flipped through pages of his notes, seeking the right balance between excitement and apprehension. This was her moment, a threshold she stepped onto with both exhilaration and dread. Each word, every revelation he shared, held the potential to alter her trajectory in ways she could only begin to imagine. Let us start with the birthmark, Oliver said, his voice firm yet gentle. It's your link to a legacy that has touched many lives. Have you ever considered what that might mean for you personally? The question resonated immediately. What had she thought her birthmark represented all these years? A point of difference, a source of insecurity? I've always viewed it as a mark that set me apart, almost as if it was a burden. But now she hesitated, grappling with the emerging possibilities. Could it really mean something more? He nodded, his enthusiasm infectious. Yes, absolutely. The stories attached to it are rich, filled with individuals who overcame insurmountable odds to make their mark on society. You are connected to their strength, their resilience. It's not just about history, it's about recognizing the potential within you. As he spoke, a simmering energy ignited inside her. Could it be true? All those years spent in self-doubt, pushing her dreams aside, fearing judgment rather than claiming her identity. An image flashed through her mind, one of herself, not as a hesitant woman but as a bold figure unfurling her wings. What if this journey allows me to craft my own story, to contribute something meaningful? She questioned, a tremor of hope threading through her voice. Exactly, Oliver replied. And it starts here. You must confront both your fears and your expectations of yourself. Believe in your capability to harness this legacy. That's how transformation begins. He handed her a thick folder. This contains information detailing the lives of those in your lineage. Their triumphs, failures, and the courage they exhibited. Read it, absorb it. The more you understand them, the closer you'll get to uncovering yourself. Mia took the folder, the weight of it heavy with significance. Her fingers grazed over the tab labeled The Trailblazers. Trepidation cultivated a tightness in her chest. What if she found more than she bargained for? What if this legacy is overwhelming? She voiced the unspoken fear. What if I can't live up to it? It's okay to feel that way, Oliver assured her, crossing his arms. Acknowledging the weight of history is a necessary step. But don't let it paralyze you. These individuals faced challenges far more daunting than the one lying ahead of you. They thrived by embracing their journey's flaws and strengths alike. Look at it as a guiding light rather than a burden. His words reverberated in her mind, pushing at the boundaries she had erected around her insecurities. For years, she had viewed herself in pieces, but perhaps, like an artist stitching together a mosaic of her identity, she could begin to see herself as a complete masterpiece, each fragment telling a story of resilience. As that thought simmered, desperation curled around the edges, begging to be released. But what if uncovering that history brings more questions than answers? What if it's a Pandora's box I'm not prepared to open? Then you approach it strategically, Oliver advised, leaning closer. Set boundaries for yourself as you navigate this. You control the narrative you wish to create. Begin with what you are comfortable exploring. Mia found herself nodding, motivated by this new perspective. Trust was a fragile thing, especially when it came to her past. Yet, Oliver's earnestness began to chip away at her reluctance. Perhaps this was not just the revelation of her lineage but also of her identity, a chance to step into the light rather than retreat into shadows. You can't know who you might become if you don't confront the shadows of who you've been, Oliver said gently. Engage with them, learn from them, and breathe life into your potential. As Mia considered his proposal, resolve solidified within her. She would explore this legacy, not just as an obligation but as a beacon to redefine her own narrative. Determination surged, replacing trepidation. This wasn't merely a matter of familial discovery, it was a personal evolution. The folder felt lighter in her hands as if it was encouraging her to uncover the hidden depths of her identity. What awaited her within those pages could change everything, and yet, the thrill of that uncertainty stirred new energy within her. Let us start, Mia said, her voice steady and unwavering. But as they prepared to delve deeper, a sudden thought intruded. The legacy was there, brimming with potential, yet who would oppose her journey? Whose voices would echo in disappointment? The thought hovered between them, a specter yet undisclosed, ready to confront her. Who else might be impacted by this quest? She pondered aloud, glancing at Oliver with newfound determination. Oliver paused, a knowing expression crossing his face. That's the real question, Mia. Understanding your lineage will also unveil those who desire to keep it hidden. She shivered at the thought. The path ahead widened ominously, both thrilling and treacherous. What kind of opposition lay in wait, and how might it challenge her resolve? Mia's fingers trembled slightly as she opened the folder, determination battling with uncertainty within her. The far-reaching implications of her legacy were far from abstract now. The names, dates, and stories stared back at her, inviting her to redefine her own understanding. What would she uncover as she peeled back the layers of history? She turned the first page, revealing a photograph of an ancestor, a woman with the same birthmark, her eyes fierce with determination. The caption underneath highlighted her role as an activist in the early 1900s, fighting for civil rights and advocating for the marginalized. Mia felt a sudden spark of clarity ignite within her. This woman had faced overwhelming societal opposition, yet she had forged ahead with unapologetic confidence. As she studied the photograph, Mia couldn't help but question her own decisions. All her life, she had sought validation from others while holding back her own aspirations. What had stopped her from pushing boundaries? Fear of rejection. A nagging sense that she didn't belong. The next page unfolded another story, a legacy of a brilliant inventor who had been ridiculed for her ideas but ultimately changed the world with her innovations. Mia felt a visceral connection to these women, an echo of their struggles reverberating within her. Each narrative was a testament not just to accomplishment, but to resilience in the face of adversity. What do you think? Oliver's voice broke through her concentration, urging her to articulate her thoughts. It's incredible. They were fighters. She couldn't shake the feeling of weight pressing on her chest. But did they have to deal with anyone trying to silence them? People who didn't believe in their legacy? Oliver met her gaze, his eyes understanding yet serious. History has a complicated way of echoing through generations. You may very well face individuals who want to undermine you or your heritage. A chill swept through her. The realization hit, the opposition she felt creeping around her journey would not merely come from within. There could be no allies in her own family, feuds simmering beneath the surface that she knew nothing about. With furrowed brows, she recounted her childhood experiences, the dismissive comments made by relatives regarding her goals, the doubt that had been planted in her mind. Maybe I've avoided revealing myself all this time because of the fear that I might be met with scorn. The thought that I might provoke hostility from those closest to me. That's perfectly valid, Oliver interjected, his expression softening. But consider this, every triumph carries with it a measure of contention. The more you embrace your story, the stronger you become against any backlash. It's as much about standing for yourself as it is about honoring those who came before you. His words hung in the air, both daunting and liberating. The internal struggle intensified. She could either remain confined within the boundaries set by others or break free and confront the inevitable conflicts head-on. But what if the backlash was heavier than she could manage? The weight of a lineage filled with fighters might crush her if she couldn't stand strong. Am I strong enough? She fought to keep her voice steady. What if I can't face them? Mia clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms, the physical pain grounding her thoughts. This was not merely about discovering her historical roots, this was a confrontation with herself. If her ancestors were warriors, perhaps it was time for her to don armor as well, to formulate a plan that both honored their legacy and defended her own choices. What will you do next? Oliver prompted, sensing the shift, the urgency in her contemplation. She took a deep breath, the uncertainty shifting to determination once more. I should meet my family, talk to them. There may be hidden truths, perhaps lessons, or even validation I've yet to discover. That's a bold step, Mia. It will require strength. She met his gaze, the resolve crystallizing within her. This journey was not simply an exploration, it was a reckoning. I need to understand my lineage deeply enough that I can challenge whatever doubts come my way. As the weight of the folder pressed against her thigh, she could sense the growing anticipation settling around her. In seeking the truth, she had not only taken the first steps toward her inheritance but had begun to carve a path for herself, a path fraught with shadows, yet illuminated by the fierce light of those who had braved the same journey before her. But despite her newfound courage, the thought of facing her family left a disquieting flutter in her stomach. Would they support her newfound understanding or reject her boldness? Oliver, what if they won't accept me changing this narrative? Her voice barely rose above a whisper, reflecting the deep-rooted apprehension twisting within her core. That's the ultimate test of your strength. Remember, confronting fear often reveals both who you are and who is truly on your side. Mia nodded slowly, the familiarity of doubt colliding with the invigorating possibility of truth. She understood now, the inheritance of legacy came with both power and responsibility. Each story she unfolded might unlock insights or challenges, but none of it would matter if the very people she hoped to embrace her had turned their backs on the legacy. Tomorrow, I will reach out to my family, she resolved, a barely audible promise to herself echoing in her mind. And in that newfound decision, she was compelled to confront not just her history, but her future. As she prepared to leave, her heart was both alight and heavy, knowing each step forward could either shatter the fragile connections she sought or forge a new understanding she never anticipated. In the vulnerabilities laid before her, would she find strength or fracture? And more ominously, what truths could her family's acceptance or rejection reveal about the shadowy forces working against her? Mia woke to the quiet hum of dawn filtering through her window, a thin veil of light that illuminated her small room and cast long shadows of doubt across her thoughts. Today was the day she had chosen to reach out to her family, a decision both exhilarating and daunting. The unresolved history lurking within the walls of that home where she had grown up threatened to envelop her, potent and uncertain. Standing before the mirror, she studied her reflection. Her own fierce eyes met her gaze, a defiance echoing that of her ancestors. She placed a hand over her heart, feeling the pulse of her determination mingling with the anxiety twisting in her stomach. Each thump reminded her of the vivid stories she had uncovered, Each echo urged her forward, reinforcing the imperative she had laid upon herself. The armors of her forebears were now hers to wear. After a quick breakfast, Mia opened her laptop, her fingers hovering over the keyboard as her heart raced. She immersed herself in the family group chat, glancing over the string of messages, photo-shared memories, and fragmented conversations that had filled the digital space over the years. Her cousins, aunts, and uncles had woven lives together in pixels and emojis, while she often felt like an outsider looking in, disconnected from those familial narratives. With a deep breath, she summoned the courage she hoped she had inherited, her fingers finally finding the keys. Hi everyone. I'd love to set up a time to talk with you all about our family history. I think there's so much we haven't explored together. The moment she hit send, a shiver of vulnerability washed over her. Doubts crept in again, threatening to unwrap the momentum she had just built. What if they dismissed her request, skeptical of her interest? Would they burden her with the same scorn she had felt growing up? Mia clenched her jaw, forcing herself to dismiss the cascading worries. The past lives she had engaged with had shown her the power of embracing one's legacy, and she couldn't let her family's potential resistance darken her resolve. An hour later, the screen flickered with notifications. Responses came in quick succession, each one unearthing layers of familial connection she thought might remain buried. Disbelieving yet hopeful, she read their messages: enthusiasm, curiosity, and surprise. I'd love to hear more. When do you want to meet? One cousin typed eagerly. Another chimed in, this is so cool. Can we have a virtual family reunion? Mia's spirits lifted slightly, a hint of validation flowing through her. Yet, lingering questions pulsed in her mind. Did they truly understand what she was seeking? What if they derailed her intentions by clinging to the comfort of their established narratives? After a rapid exchange, they settled on a virtual meeting the following evening. Mia closed her laptop, her mind racing as she felt the weight of anticipation continues to build. This was not merely about discussing family history, it was a step toward dismantling the internal constraints that had long bound her aspirations. As the hours passed, moments of doubt flitted through her. Memories of harsh familial critiques echoed in her mind, the shadowy judgments that had kept her simmering beneath the surface. She decided to act against that internal narrative, a choice that felt as revolutionary as the legacies she had uncovered. Mia set out on a walk, soaking in the cool air and the chirping of the early birds. The rhythmic sound of her footsteps became a meditation, a reminder of the steps she was taking, and not just on the pavement. This path was leading her towards a reckoning, an exploration that rippled outward into her connections. She climbed a small hill, where a view of the city unfurled before her, vast and brimming with potential. Against that backdrop, she pondered the true meaning of legacy. It stretched beyond mere familial ties, it included the bond between her individual courage and the histories that had shaped her being. The strength of those fighters dwelled within her, urging her to confront, to challenge, and to carve out her own identity. As night approached, she prepared for the meeting. Mia rehearsed her lines, reminding herself to speak with authenticity, to honor the stories of her ancestors while standing firm against any resistance. She settled into her chair, the laptop at the ready, connected and focused. But as the clock neared the hour of the meeting, a new concern rippled through her. What if revealing her discovery about her birthmark, the topic that seemed to tie her to a legacy larger than life, brought forth more questions and suspicions than she was prepared to handle? With each tick of the clock, the weight of her truth loomed larger. Would they accept her revelations, or would it pave the way for conflict and division? The screen blinked to life as names filled the call invitation. Time stood still as her heart raced, nerves dancing alongside the bright glow of the screen. Would she find the support she sought, or would this meeting unravel into disbelief and derision? The moment of reckoning was about to commence. Mia's heart thundered in her chest as the call connected, and faces emerged one by one on the grid of her laptop screen. There was her cousin Sarah, with an infectious smile that sparkled even through the pixels, and Uncle James, who seemed to wear the weight of years on his brow, his expression a mix of curiosity and caution. She scanned the faces, seeking the one that would mirror her own intentions, but she only found a blur of excitement mingling with uncertainty. "Hey everyone!" Sarah greeted brightly, her voice cutting through the nervous energy that crackled in the air. "Mia, it's so good to see you." The acknowledgement felt like a reassuring hand on Mia's shoulder, but a quick glance at the others revealed hesitations. Uncle James raised an eyebrow, skepticism readily apparent in his stance. "Yeah, good to see you," he muttered, slight tension curling around his words. "So, what's this about family history?" Mia's pulse quickened. She had prepared for this moment, had steeled herself to offer the stories waiting to be shared, but now that moment seemed to hang precariously over her. I think there's so much more to our family story than we usually discuss. I want us to explore it together. There's a connection, a legacy that ties us." "What kind of connection are you talking about?" one of her aunts interjected. "You mean our usual stories about grandma sitting on the porch recounting old times?" "No, not just that," Mia rushed, eager to redirect the conversation. "I've been doing some research on our ancestry and I found something significant. It's about my birthmark, and how it connects us to our heritage." A hush fell over the group. Mia felt the weight of her vulnerability press heavily against her chest. It was as if she had tossed a stone into still water, and now, the ripples of uncertainty were undulating through the faces of her family. She steeled herself, realizing that to break down the walls of doubt, she had to first confront her own. As she spoke about the ancient stories she had uncovered, the warriors believed to bear similar marks, the significance of those symbols. She felt the knot in her stomach loosening, however slightly. The history she shared, steeped in strength and courage, began to forge a fragile bond among them, but as she strained to gauge their reactions, she noticed the familiar flash of disbelief flickering across Uncle James's face. "What's the proof of this? How can you just assume that a birthmark means something?" The question struck sharply. Mia's determination momentarily faltered. This was exactly the kind of resistance she feared. She had anticipated curiosity, even skepticism, but doubt directed at her motives felt like a betrayal. Yet instead of retreating within herself, she met his gaze, refusing to back down. "It's not just about the birthmark. It's about understanding where we come from. And if it takes me revealing my journey, then so be it." The room filled with a silence punctuated by the hum of conflicting thoughts. "I think this is important," chimed in her cousin Sarah. "We're all curious about our family roots, right?" Mia's spirit lifted slightly. "Yes. Together, we can look beyond the casual stories. There's strength here that's waiting to be acknowledged." As she spoke, she realized that this call was not solely about uncovering family history, it was a battlefield where she wielded her truths. Each narrative she shared became a sword to cut through the lingering mist of doubt and denial. Yet, lingering questions gnawed at her. Could she truly lead this conversation to a place of understanding? Despite the weight of skepticism, Uncle James sighed, the tension ebbed from his expression, replaced by something softer, perhaps confusion mixed with intrigue. "All right, I'm willing to hear more, but I still need to see the facts." "I promise to share everything I've found," Mia replied, her voice steady. "We can do this together." The conversation continued to dance around the dynamics of the family history, shifting between excitement and doubt, as Mia outlined her discoveries. Each moment propelled her further into her personal evolution, but she was keenly aware that the battle was far from over. As the call wrapped up, her heart swelled with hope but also with trepidation. Had she truly opened a door towards inclusivity, or had she merely cracked it a sliver, allowing shadows of doubt to linger? As they said their goodbyes, Mia's resolve solidified. It was clear that the journey ahead would be riddled with challenges. Solutions would demand resilience and clarity. With a deep breath, she prepared to confront whatever doubts remained both within herself and among her family, but as the call ended and the screen dimmed, another thought pierced through her heart. What if uncovering their family's past led to more than just acceptance? What if the revelations awoke secrets best left buried? The air grew thick with anticipation, and Mia knew she was on the brink of unearthing more than just history. The moment was near, and as she contemplated her next steps, she felt an undercurrent of dread rumble beneath her surface. Little did she know, a deeper mystery awaited her in the shadows of her lineage. Mia sat in her dimly lit room after the call, staring at the flickering screen. The weight of her family's skepticism hung heavily in the air, a tangible substance pressing down on her. She felt as if she stood at the edge of a cliff, peering into the abyss of her family's secrets and her own identity. In that moment, the adrenaline from her bold declaration slipped away, replaced with a suffocating uncertainty. Despite the enthusiasm from Sarah, Mia's mind kept circling back to Uncle James's doubt. Questions clawed at her. Could she really rally her family around this exploration? What if they pushed back harder against her revelations? The thought of potential rejection fanned the flames of her insecurity. Yet buried beneath that fear was an ember of defiance, a flicker of hope that urged her to continue. Determination surged as she stood, shaking off the lingering self-doubt. There was research to do. She pulled open her laptop again and returned to the documents she had painstakingly compiled. The stories of their ancestors whispered through the pages: valiant warriors, revered healers, ancestors shrouded in extraordinary tales waiting to be resurrected. These narratives transcended mere stories, they were legacies. Mia's hands glided across the keyboard, her focus sharpening. This wasn't just about proving Uncle James wrong, it was about embracing a truth that had been kept in the dark and harnessing it as a bridge to her family. The birthmark she bore, this unique symbol, became more than a marker of difference, it became a link, a part of the thread connecting her to generations of untold tales. As she delved deeper into her research, Mia uncovered old photographs, letters, and artifacts that illuminated the struggles and triumphs of her lineage. With each piece of the puzzle, she felt the tendrils of her self-perception shifting. Here was evidence of resilience, of triumph over adversity, qualities she recognized in her own life. She was not just part of the family history, she was an active participant in the legacy of strength they all shared. Hours passed, and determination transformed into a fervent need to confront the challenges ahead. A plan solidified in her mind. The next time they spoke, she would present her findings with clarity and passion. No more wavering, she wanted the truth to reign free not only for herself but for everyone connected by blood. She resolved to spin the narrative in a way that tore down the walls of skepticism and built a fortress of understanding. The following morning, Mia stood in front of the mirror, her heart racing as she glanced at the birthmark on her wrist. Inspired by the stories of her ancestors, she chose to wear it like armor, a badge of honor. This mark connected her to a story older and more complex than she could fathom. It now represented not just her heritage but her courage to face the world. Mia decided to call a second meeting with her family, this time with a new approach. She outlined her discoveries, organizing them meticulously, prepared to showcase the links between their shared identity and the greater heritage. But as she set her plan in motion, doubts surged again, unannounced. Was she truly ready to challenge the long-held beliefs of her family? Did she have the power to change their perspective, or would her efforts fracture their bonds even further? The moment hung heavy as she contemplated the risks. Yet there was something stronger at play, an intuitive pull toward revealing the truth that was far more significant than any potential rejection. As the call date approached, the anticipatory dread swirled in her gut, mingling invincibly with excitement. Mia realized that her journey would not only redefine her understanding of her heritage but could also reshape the relationship with her family. Would her courage lead them to embrace their history, or would it ignite deeper divides? Her internal battle raged on, but the fire within her would not be extinguished. It was time to take that leap. What awaited her on the other side of revelation would be a confrontation unlike any she had faced before. The day of the meeting arrived, carrying with it an electric blend of excitement and dread that thrummed through Mia's veins. She had spent sleepless nights perfecting her presentation, poring over her findings, but now, in the moments before that anticipated call, the anxiety swelled just as fiercely as her resolve. The birthmark on her wrist pulsed like a beacon, reminding her of her ancestors, the legacy she carried, the truths she was prepared to unveil. Sitting at her desk, she took several deep breaths, releasing the tension in her shoulders. Each exhale felt like a step toward grounding herself. She could visualize the gathering of her family on the other end of the line, their varied expressions stretching from skepticism to curiosity, perhaps even fear. Mia wrestled with the thought of confrontation. While she envisioned the discussions turning into a heated debate, she also imagined moments of vulnerability, the way hearts might open with sincerity. When the call connected, Mia's throat constricted. Her family's faces flickered across the screen, and for a moment, she felt the warmth of their presence. But quickly, a chill settled in as Uncle James's skeptical gaze locked onto her. It was as if he were the very embodiment of her anxieties, waiting for her to falter. "Thanks for joining," Mia began, her voice trembling slightly. "I really wanted to share something important about our family history. It's been a journey, and it has changed how I see myself and my place within our lineage." She leaned forward, her hands resting on the desk, feeling the cool wood beneath her palms. With a deep breath, she began her presentation, recounting her discoveries about ancestors who had faced adversities much graver than her own grinding doubt. She spoke of their strength, their vulnerabilities, and how each story interwove with the next, how they all connected to her. What she didn't anticipate was the emotional charge radiating from her words. As Mia unveiled photographs and letters, she watched their expressions shift. Bewilderment, curiosity, and a flicker of recognition began to bloom. The skeptical faces softened as she spoke of their shared bloodline, emphasizing how understanding this history could enrich their family bond. As she unveiled the story behind her birthmark, Mia felt a swell of courage rising within her. Properly contextualizing its significance, she detailed how it linked her to ancestors who bore the marks of their lineage without shame. "This is a part of us, of me, and I believe it's time we embrace it as our own," she stated, earnest yet unyielding. But Uncle James tilted his head, skeptical again, a fortress behind his eyes. "And what if this pathway you've paved leads to more questions than answers? What if you're just chasing shadows?" His voice was steady, but there was an edge. The challenge struck a nerve, and her adrenaline surged. How much was she willing to invest in this moment to confront the very foundation of their family's beliefs? In that instance, she wrestled internally, caught between defiance and fear. But what James didn't see was how her journey had started long before this encounter. This wasn't merely about seeking validation, it was about claiming a truth that had been silenced. As the call progressed, moments of tension arose, their initial resistance began to crack, revealing glimpses of acceptance. Mia recognized the shift, a willingness to listen, to ponder the pieces she had laid out before them. Each story handed to them was another step into the light, but through the budding warmth, resentment lingered. The root of the family's dismissal gnawed at her. Would they remain stuck in the past, or could they transcend it? Yet, as they began to engage with her revelations, a glimmer of hope flickered in Mia's chest. Just as she began to feel a shift in the air, the call was interrupted by a message flashing across her screen, an old familial connection, one she had never known about, linking her ties to another story, a billionaire ancestor. The implication sent a new shockwave through her, rippling through the very fabric of her identity and the uncertainty of her journey. What other secrets were yet to be revealed? Would this news forge deeper connections or widen existing rifts? With a pounding heart, Mia braced herself for yet another revelation, knowing that the journey forward had only just begun. Mia stood at the precipice of transformation, the weight of her family's history and her newfound identity converging in a way she had never thought possible. With each new piece of information she uncovered, she felt the layers of doubt slowly peeling away, revealing a woman who was no longer just defined by her birthmark. It was now a badge of honor, a relic connecting her to brilliant minds and courageous souls who had come before her. The revelation about her billionaire ancestor ricocheted around the room as Mia shared it with her family during their next virtual meeting. The sudden shift in their demeanor sparked curiosity, igniting a flame that had remained dormant for far too long. "You're telling us there's wealth, power, history intertwined with our lineage?" her cousin Sarah asked, disbelief and excitement merging in her tone. "Yes. It's not just money," Mia insisted passionately, "it's about the legacy of influence. This lineage contains stories of resilience and revolutionaries who endured hardships. There's a spirit of defiance woven into our ancestry, and it's time we embrace that." Uncle James remained hesitant, an air of skepticism hanging around him, but even he couldn't ignore the enthusiasm filling the screen. "What's the evidence?" he challenged, but this time, Mia was ready. She had compiled documented accounts, photographs, and charts linking their family. "These are the stories," she declared, her fingers interlaced as if anchoring herself to the momentum of her newfound conviction. "This legacy isn't just family lore, it's real, and it's powerful. And it's ours to explore." Focus turned to the collection of documents Mia presented, showcasing the brilliant woman who had navigated societal turmoil to carve a niche within powerful circles. As she spoke, Mia's voice became steadier, the nerves of earlier meetings fading away. Her family began to lean in, intrigued by the tapestry of narratives revealing their connection to greatness. Minutes stretched into an hour as stories unfolded, laughter punctuated by reflective silence. The complex fabric of their heritage began to take shape, reshaping her familial connections into something more than mere obligation. They were bonds born of shared struggle and tenacity. By the time the call was winding down, an overwhelming sense of solidarity lingered in the air. Mia garnered validation, but more importantly, she emerged emboldened, having showcased her findings successfully, meeting skepticism with knowledge and grace. "I know history can feel heavy," she said thoughtfully, pacing her words with intention, "but it's not a weight to bear, it's a compass pointing us toward who we could be. Together, we can embrace our narrative, strengthening our bonds in the face of doubt." "That sounds incredible," Sarah replied, a spark igniting in her eyes. "I want to be part of this journey." Mia felt an exhilarating rush as hope washed over her, a tide of connection, bridging the past with possibilities, as more family members expressed their enthusiasm to discover their identities. She had faced them as a curious girl once shackled by insecurity, and now she stood resolute, forging a path through layered histories embraced with authenticity. A week later, Mia received a letter in the mail. It was from none other than Oliver Grant, who had become not just a mentor but a steadfast ally along her journey. In it, he invited her to co-host a seminar addressing her findings, her unique lineage and its potential to inspire a new generation. The proposal elevated her resolve. It was no longer about proving anything to anyone, it was about sharing a legacy that deserved to be celebrated. "Think of what we can accomplish," he wrote, "when you stand confidently in your truth." Mia's heart swelled with gratitude and pride. No longer the girl from the diner living in doubt, she had cultivated her narrative into one of strength, and now, she would step forward into public life a woman recognized not simply for where she came from but for the voice she had forged from the courage of those who had come before. Her preparations began for the seminar as she worked tirelessly, pouring her heart and history into the project. She envisioned sharing her ancestors' struggles and triumphs, igniting inspiration in others facing their own battles with identity. On the day of the seminar, Mia stood before an audience of eager faces. With every word she spoke, she recognized the growth within, the solid confidence radiating from her new, established place. She had achieved not just recognition but a profound sense of belonging both within herself and her family. As the standing ovation echoed through the room, Mia felt a sense of fulfillment wash over her. She had conquered her internal battles and helped redefine her family's narrative through her research and emotional resilience. Now she knew her birthmark, once seen as a blemish, represented a legacy filled with brilliance and boldness, proving that embracing one's identity can indeed transform lives. Mia stepped off the platform, her heart full. She was no longer a young girl wrestling with her past, she had blossomed into a force, a connection to her lineage that would impact generations to come, restoring strength and pride where uncertainty once resided. And with that, Mia Johnson had rewritten her story, one rooted in history, solidarity, and culminated achievement, rededicating her life to inspire others to uncover and embrace their own truths. That if you're inspired by Mia's transformation, this is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach others who need to hear these empowering narratives. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support truly matters. Comment below with your reactions and theories about Mia's journey. Let's keep the conversation going.